Good afternoon, welcome to my channel. My name is Gavin Boyter. I'm a writer of short stories and novels which I'm hoping to get published, and various pieces of non-fiction. And I have a story for you today. Now I should say this story is not based on 5 random words. It was based on some concepts that were given to me by the NY Midnight short story competition. But I can't remember exactly what those concepts were. And if I were to tell you what I do remember, it might act as a bit of a spoiler. So here's just a short story. I've worked on it a little bit since the original writing of the tale, which was about a year and a half ago. And hopefully it's, makes sense and is more fun. Anyway, this story, which is number 121, is called Bittersweet. "Well," said Detective Cassandra Rylander, "you don't get much deader than that." She gestured at the svelte young man who had fallen headfirst into the fish tank, partly shattering it. It was unclear whether he had bled to death or drowned. A shard had pierced his jugular. The water in which dead tropical fish bobbed was the colour of borscht. "We should keep our voices down," whispered ever-tactful forensic specialist Ludo Leterrier. "Hubby's in the bedroom." Rylander shrugged, unimpressed. She stood on tiptoe, examining the back of the victim's skull. "Blunt force trauma. Have you photographed this?" Leterrier nodded. "I've all the pictures I need of Mr. Carter. Let's give him a bit of dignity." He motioned to his team, who quickly set to work lifting the victim from the shards that cradled his once handsome face. Rylander was scanning the wall of fitted bookcases, the chic conversation pit, and the white baby grand with its perfect stack of sheet music. Almost perfect. The pile was a degree or two off being parallel with the lid. Rylander resisted the urge to correct it. "Is Mr. Pearl ready for questions?" Rylander asked over her shoulder. An officer in the bedroom doorway nodded. Rylander marched over to the master bedroom. Like the rest of the Park Avenue suite, the bedroom was huge, sunlit, and entirely lacking in character. Nothing seemed out of place, except the man in the rumpled silk pyjamas weeping into a monogrammed handkerchief, and the woman, elegantly 50-something but fading fast, who attended him. Pearl's PA, Juliet Keir, the one who had apparently found the corpse that morning, whilst dropping off some dry cleaning. Rylander noted the easy way Juliet's arm curled around her boss's shoulder. Pearl, mogul of a confectionery empire to rival Hershey, pulled himself together as Rylander entered the boudoir. "May I call you Joshua?" Rylander began. The Candy King nodded. "You say your PA found the body, yet you saw or heard nothing until she woke you." Another nod. Juliet piped up. "I have a spare key, so I can inspect the place before Mr. Pearl arrives. He always stays here when he's in New York." "You must be a heavy sleeper, Joshua," Rylander said, "not to hear all that violence next door." The officer by the door visibly winced. Juliet blanched. "What are you implying? Mr. Pearl has nothing to do with this." Joshua sighed, dabbing tears from his chin. "I wear custom-made earplugs. We had the launch presentation today, the new product line. I needed to catch up on my sleep. You could set off a firecracker." "I see," Rylander said. "Juliet arrived at 7 a.m., saw Mr. Pearl, the young Mr. Pearl, the new Mr. Pearl, and tried to help him." Rylander saw Juliet's eyes narrow. She deliberately stressed the recent surprise marriage of Mr. Pearl, 58, and his toy boy fiancée, 26. Juliet's eyes seemed glazed when she opened them, staring at a fixed point as if trying to remember a sequence of events. "I've been with Mr. Pearl for almost 30 years. I knew this would devastate him. So I tried to lift Mr. Kenneth, to lessen the shock." Rylander had heard enough for now. It was often a good idea to let suspects stew. Mr. Pearl looked almost catatonic with grief, but perpetrators of crimes of passion were often like that. Juliet and Mr. Pearl had made a bloody mess of themselves trying to move Kenneth Pearl's corpse. The blood-spatter people would have a challenge on their hands. Rylander wandered back into the reception room. She felt certain she'd missed something. She'd read a magazine profile of Mr. Pearl, the man behind the Nana's Favourites line of candies that filled the shelves of mega malls and bodegas alike. Like Rylander, he had OCD, but unlike the detective, he downplayed it. Seemingly, he liked things to be evenly numbered. There was an almost full set of Encyclopaedia Britannica on the shelves, missing only the volume 25, the addendum. There were 18 books of sheet music, Broadway show tunes and jazz standards. 10 pairs of shoes were neatly lined up in the walk-in wardrobe, where a dozen business suits hung, all in the same charcoal grey twill. "Has anyone counted these?" Rylander shouted, indicating a large bowl of Butterscotch charms on the coffee table, the flagship of the Nana's favourite brand. Heads were shaken. Rylander emptied the bowl out and knelt to count. 37 candies. Neither 36 nor 38. She locked eyes with Juliet. "Did you eat any of these? Last night or this morning?" Juliet scowled. "Do you think I'm in a mood to eat candy?" Rylander span on her heels. "Everyone, turn out your pockets," she shouted. Leterrier chuckled, then rearranged his face when he saw his boss glowering at him. "I'm serious. Check the witnesses too." A full search was undertaken. Nobody admitted to eating a butterscotch charm. The penthouse was forensically swept multiple times and nothing turned up, not even in the trash or the waste disposal. "Why did we just do that?" said Leterrier to one of his men. Rylander heard the query. "Because Pearl has OCD and can't deal with odd numbers. He's also diabetic. The candies are for guests." Daniel said nothing, but he was nodding stiffly. "Well, that proves it," said Juliet, with a hint of triumph in her voice. "It must have been a third party. The killer." "Maybe," thought Rylander. "Juliet, you haven't left the penthouse since you found the body." Juliet shook her head, looking a little uncertain. "Can we check Juliet's vehicle?" Rylander said, and it wasn't a question. 40 minutes later, a candy wrapper was found wedged down the back of the driver's seat of the PA's Tesla. It contained a small bloody smear. One of the forensic officers then spotted something else, a crystal shard mounted on an oval plinth tucked under the passenger seat. Confectionery magazine's Sweetheart Award 2019. The award was about a foot tall and rather heavy. It too was smeared with congealed blood. Rylander watched with satisfaction as forensics bagged and tagged the murder weapon and the wrapper. When they rechecked Pearl's shelves, there was a subtle oval patch where no dust had fallen on the topmost. Rylander marched back through to the bedroom. "Someone's got a sweet tooth," she observed quietly. "Someone who was here last night hoping to catch her love rival unawares." Leterrier didn't laugh at Rylander's archaic turn of phrase. He'd learned not to laugh at anything she said. Cassie was exceptional in all the ways that counted. "Don't be absurd," Juliet said, looking shaken. "We have the weapon, which you were planning to remove from the scene. You might have succeeded too, had we not been looking for this." Rylander dangled the plastic bag containing the offending candy wrapper. "You wanted to celebrate. Nothing wrong with a little indulgence now and again, is there? All you had to do was take two." Juliet looked blankly at the bag. Good poker face, Rylander thought. "My guess is you left the murder weapon in Pearl's apartment last night, wiped clean of prints, of course, but had second thoughts this morning. Then we arrived and it was too late to remove it. You know whose blood we'll find on the award, Mrs. Keir? Your boss's lovers." Rylander drew out the last word into 2 mocking syllables. It had the intended effect. Juliet stood up and slapped her, or tried to. Rylander pulled her head away just in time. Juliet's crimson fingernails lightly skimmed her cheek. "To hell with you all," yelled the PA. "None of you know what true love is. 30 years I've loved him, 30 thankless years." As Juliet was led away, screaming obscenities at the officers who handcuffed her, Rylander turned to the aghast, twice victimized sugar magnate. Temptation and jealousy, sweetness stolen or denied. That's all it was. Thank you. So that was my attempt to write a sort of traditional little detective story in a little under, well, it's 1,300 words. The original was 1,000, but I've added a little bit to flesh it out and to answer a few of the minor criticisms I got from the judges of the competition. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please share this. Copy the link. You can click on a thing on the screen, I believe. And also, I think up there, that little logo, you can subscribe, watch another video, like, comment, all those lovely things, and I'll be back again with a brand new story very soon. Bye-bye.